This podcast contains explicit language.
Bafangu!
Houston, flight is go.
Mila, let's go. SPM, safety contact.
From Assignment X, thesoniashow.com, and Amalgamated Storytelling, this is the Dorking Out Show, the podcast for people who love stories from movies, TV, books, podcasts, and everywhere else.
Welcome to episode 114 of Dorking Out. This is the Beer and Baseball Movies edition. My name is Sonia Mansfield. My usual co-host, Christopher Allen Smith, is on sabbatical this summer. So filling in for him this week is my handsome, way more talented than me better half, David Tracy.
Hi.
David and I host another podcast together called Old Movies, New Beer, and we're basically doing that here. We're going to drink a beer, and we're going to talk about some baseball movies.
And baseball.
And baseball. Specifically, 1989's Major League and Field of Dreams. Both came out the same year.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And one of them has certainly aged better than the other, I think.
Ooh.
And strangely, David has never seen either of these movies.
No, I'm not. I have not seen either film.
So this is going to be fun. David, why don't you talk about what we're drinking, and I'm going to pour this.
Oh, it's Drake's Brewing Draconic Imperial Stout. Oh. That's the sound of Draconic Imperial Stout. Draconic is one of our favorite breweries, actually. They're in San Leandro, California.
Yeah, Drake's is one of our favorite breweries.
What did I say?
Draconic.
Oh, Draconic, yeah.
But this is one of our favorites from them. They do this one, and they do the Robusto Porter.
Yeah.
Both of them are really good dark beer.
And they do a good IPA as well.
They do, and they've got a couple of different tap rooms around the Bay Area, I think.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To beer and baseball.
To beer and baseball. They go well together. Mm-hmm.
A couple of our favorite things.
Okay. So about baseball.
Okay. You want to talk about baseball in general first?
So I do, because I have a question for you. I feel bad because you have a set thing.
I just write notes here just in case.
Okay. Okay, so this is the Dorking Out Show.
Yes.
A show within which we dork out.
Yes.
And we celebrate those who dork out with us.
Yes.
And maybe even dork out without us. Just those which pride themselves with dorking.
Yes.
So what is it about baseball, of all sports, that has sort of a geek dorking out attraction to it, more so than I think other major sports outside of darts
or bowling, right? Because bowling's pretty dorky.
Yeah, bowling's pretty dorky too.
I don't know if baseball has a higher geek quotient. I guess I do know that because I kind of surround myself with geeks and dorks and nerds and spazzes, and most of us like baseball, and I think, I don't know, it's probably the stats, right?
It's probably the stats. It's
a bit of a math game.
Yep.
I think it really is the stats. I think it's like every time someone goes up to bat, you see like how they're batting, how they've batted against this pitcher, how they play in this ballpark, like, and you're like playing the odds and you want to see how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
So I think that's some dorky shit.
I think also, and this was a good marketing move, unintentional marketing move since the very, very beginnings of baseball, but it hits the collectible gene big time with baseball cards.
Yeah.
Like they've had baseball cards forever,
you
and you want to collect a set. It was like the first Pokemon.
You know just a little bit about the collectible gene.
I do. It was like the first Pokemon was baseball cards.
Right.
Like you bought your pack, you got your stale gum that was disgusting.
That cut your cheek and yeah.
Yeah, that was manufactured probably in China and is not even edible. It's a non-food.
Yes.
It's worth 0 points on Weight Watchers. But But like you would get your pack, you always had a bunch of people you didn't know who they were, but you're hoping to get like a particular player
Right.
or a team and complete the set. And I think that just sort of instilled. And then on the back of the card, you had all the stats. Mm-hmm. It just kind of instilled this this different level of being a fan of a sport,
Yeah, well,
even if you don't play.
other sports, I feel like there's like a jock, like such a jock component, such a bro component, and I think baseball has that too. But
I think the clubhouse is pretty bro.
oh, for
heavy.
sure. But I mean, like, kind of in the stands, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we went to a football game, I felt like the energy in the stand was much different than what we have at baseball stadiums.
Yeah, and today it's always. I mean, I don't know. I grew up going to baseball games,
Right.
so it's always been. Maybe it hasn't always been, but there's always been a kind of a family like kids going to games
Right.
element. So it's always been kind of relatively
Yeah.
kid friendly.
We should probably mention right off the top, like, we're a 2-team household here.
We are a 2-team.
David
household.
is an Oakland A's fan, and I am a San Francisco Giants fan.
Yep.
But we root for each other's teams as well.
And we go to each
unless they're
other's games.
And we go to each other's games unless they're playing each other. Then it's every man or woman for his or herself.
And the my dark side is I grew up in LA, so I have a little bit of Dodger happening up until.
And nobody up here likes that.
No, I know. The Dodger part kind of died in after I moved up to Northern California because of the A's.
Right.
And they were amazing. And then the A's lost to the Dodgers in
Yeah.
the World Series. But there's still a little bit of Dodgerness, deep 70s little David loved the Dodgers. Another dorking out component
Yes.
that proves my theory of baseball being the geek friendly major sport. I have 2 tabletop baseball simulation games
That's some nerdy stuff.
that I play solitaire. They're designed to be played solitaire
Yes.
primarily. Yeah.
Yeah.
So replay baseball.
Yeah. So sometimes David is actually sitting at the kitchen table playing a solo board game, and I'll actually be out here watching baseball.
Yeah, like I'll be recreating because in the tabletop game, you get like different World Series matchups, and you have like cards for each of the players, and you can replay a game any World Series you want to. There's even Replay Baseball even has like a 1924 Negro Leagues season you can play. That's all researched and everything. So yeah, you can geek out on at least I do on the baseball.
So, speaking of the Oakland A's,
Yes.
do you think... Well, I'm just going to get right into it. Let's start with Major League.
Okay.
Do you think
the movie
Major League? Do you think that there's some things in Major League that are like right out of like the Oakland A's, and and especially like not necessarily like their current season, but maybe earlier seasons? And for those people who don't know, like the plot of Major League, here's the quick summary. Like a former Las Vegas showgirl inherits the Cleveland Indians from her husband. She wants to move the team to Miami, so she puts together a team so terrible so that they'll lose so terribly that she can get the city to release them from their contract. And so she recruits this ragtag team of players, like Tom Berenger's, like kind of like the veteran catcher who's like way past his prime, and like Corbin Burnson from LA Laws, like a former hotshot player who still thinks he's a hotshot player. And Charlie Sheen is like a convict that's got a super fastball that he can't control. And Wesley Snipes is playing a character named Willie Mays Hayes who, he just can run really fast.
Willie Mays Hayes is a great
It's a great name. And I feel like he was supposed to kind of be like a Ricky Henderson type, or at least that's what I thought at the time. But she treats them horribly and like pinches pennies and like, you know, they don't have any therapy equipment, or she makes them like ride on a bus that breaks down, and their stadium is all janky, and all these things kind of remind me a little bit of the A's.
The A's.
Would you
what
say?
It's like, what it's like to root for the A's.
Yes.
I should point out, like, the reason she wants the team to do so poorly is she wants to, if the attendance is below a certain point, she can move the team to get permission and move the team to Miami.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of. There are some A's have had a lot of owners, and owners don't like. They've not wanted to spend anything, so you can't get attached to any A's player because you know if they're really good, they're going to get traded.
Like you said, you would never buy a jersey with a name on it.
No, it's got to be a classic player like Reggie Jackson or Eckersley. But yeah, that's the fun of rooting for a low budget, low attendance baseball team.
Yeah.
Yep, but tickets are cheap.
I was just going to say, the upside, tickets are super affordable. We've paid for the monthly pass, where we're paying like $29.99 a month or something for us to go to as many games as we want. It's pretty sweet.
If you want to get close to a baseball game, you can't do the Giants. The A's is your...
No, Giants are expensive.
That's your bargain.
What did you think of Major League? This being your first time viewing it.
My first time viewing it. Well, it's nice because I don't have any nostalgia for it. I remember it was being very popular at the time, but it's funny. It's like it's so 80s with like the music.
So 80s.
And I liked there's some very funny parts.
Yeah.
Some funny parts that are borderline not okay anymore.
Yeah.
So I liked the humor. I didn't like the romance.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that.
And it's, you know, it would have been the same time had I saw it in the 80s. Like, I would have liked the humor and wouldn't have cared about the romance.
Right. You actually brought up something really interesting. So in the movie, Renee Russo, a young Renee Russo, I don't know if she did a lot of movies before this.
She was really good.
She's really good in it, and she's adorable. Adorable. I mean, she's still like hot stuff, but she was really, really cute in this. And she plays like the ex-girlfriend of Tom Berenger's character. And he comes back to town and tries to like win her back even though she's engaged. He kind of stalks her, like follows her home, but it turns out not to be her home. It's like her fiance's home. He follows her home again later.
Oh, he stalks her.
He's full on stalking her. And she's like, hey, like not interested. And he's still stalking her. Also, it's repeated throughout the movie. Like every time he approaches her, she brings up like these horrible, horrible things that he did. Like, you know, the women that like filed paternity suits against him when they were together before, or how he came home with like a stripper or whatever, you know, like all these things. Like he was a terrible boyfriend and they had an awful relationship. And yet somehow the movie still thinks that we think they should be together.
That he deserves another
shot. And when the movie's also telling us he's had a lot of shots.
Yeah, you can't blame her at all for moving on.
Yeah, what's funny is I watched this movie a lot back in the day. Like I'm sure I saw it in the theater. It might have even played at my theater. My family super loves baseball, so like I'm sure my dad watched this movie a lot with me, you know. And at the time, like, I don't think the romance seemed so creepy to me because I was pretty young and didn't know what relationships were. Like, I was just like, hey, how come she doesn't take him back? He seems like a nice enough guy, without, like, really understanding that he's kind of a creep.
Yeah, he's super creepy.
Yeah.
He's likable, but...
Right. Yeah, go ahead.
He's not someone you want to be in a relationship with.
No. Like, hey, I've changed now, baby. Take me back.
And really, there's no proof that he's changed at all. Like, from the start of the movie, he's still terrible.
Yeah, well, he's in some, like, crappy apartment in like Mexico or something with like a naked lady laying passed out over
like
his
living
lap.
in a motel or
Right,
something like
so icky.
that. The baseball parts are good, and what's funny to me is like seeing Charlie Sheen, how he went from being edgy punk rock, which is so funny because he doesn't look tough at all.
No.
And but I love how his character transforms, and how towards the end he's wearing the glasses with skull and crossbones on them.
Yeah.
Like that'd be a very good Halloween costume. It's just wear black glasses with skull and crossbones and Cleveland Indians jersey.
So one of the I did a little poking around before we sat down to record, and one of the things I read was that his character in the movie, has like his like warm up music or whatever, and they start like he comes out and they're
Wild Thing?
and they start singing Wild Thing, and they start playing it and all this stuff, and apparently like that wasn't like really a thing back then. And then it became a thing.
So the walk-up, warm-up music was created by Major League?
That's what I read.
Wow.
And that there was a player whose name I can't remember, I'm sorry, who actually, like, super loved this movie and, like, changed his number to 99, which is, I guess, Charlie Sheen's number in this movie, and like he made his like music, like he had them start playing Wild Thing, and I guess like Charlie Sheen got really pissed and felt like he wasn't getting the credit that he deserved. Like I was like, you don't even deserve it, like the director deserves it. Shut up, Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, there's plenty of opportunity to say shut up, Charlie Sheen.
No shit. It was kind of interesting though to watch this because it's very well documented. I am not a Charlie Sheen fan. I think he's a real piece of shit. But to see a movie like this reminds me of why he was famous in the first place. He's very funny.
He's really funny.
Yeah. And I think
and his dad.
Yeah, his dad's awesome.
His dad's awesome.
I really like Wesley Snipes a lot in the movie. I thought he was really fun, and he's like such a he would just go on to be like a pretty big movie star, and like I wish Hollywood would take Wesley Snipes back and give him another chance.
You know what movie I've not seen before?
What?
Blade.
I haven't seen Blade either. Should we watch Blade next?
We should watch Blade.
Okay. I thought that some of the baseball stuff was really funny. I think Bob Uecker is still really funny as the announcer.
Bob Uecker was great in everything he did.
Even Mr. Belvedere?
Even Mr. Belvedere. He's great in Naked Gun. He's great in everything.
Yeah. And
commercials. He was great in commercials.
I also like as the movie progresses and they kind of show the progression of the fan base talking about the team. So it's like at the beginning of the movie, like they have like the construction guys and the guys in the diner and like the people in the bar, and they're like, they don't look very good this year. I don't recognize any of these names, blah, blah, blah. And then like, like halfway through the movie, they're like, hey, they're not so bad. Like, hey, they're better than I thought or whatever. And then, but every single time they cut to these like Chinese guys that are working, what?
Japanese.
Yeah.
I'm
so sorry. I should have just said Asian, huh? These Asian guys who are working, they're groundskeepers. And like, no matter how good they get, they're still shitty.
Yeah.
Like, with subtitles.
Yeah, it really shows kind of it shows Cleveland as a, super blue collar.
Right. Well, and that's actually one of the other things I kind of liked about the movie. And Bull Durham does it too, which is it kind of shows that, I mean, now I feel like the median income for a ball player is pretty high.
Yeah.
For a major league ball player, I mean, it's probably 6 figures, right? These guys are not that. Like, they're making what I guess league minimum.
Whatever the league minimum was.
I think, league minimum was probably less than 6 figures then. So I like that they're other than Corbin Bernstein's character, who's like, let me help you with your finances. Like, these dudes, they're not like rich, entitled athletes. They're like the like the blue collar fans that the team has.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of cool.
There are a lot of movies in the 80s where there's kind of this set in kind of blue collar America and then almost in a romantic way.
Right.
Not cynical, not anything, probably not super realistic, but just kind of a Norman Rockwell blue collar thing.
Well, I think America still has that
love
affair for sure. Like, the idea that somehow blue collar people are quote unquote real Americans. You know, like, what does real America think? It's like, well, no, we're all Americans, you know. But anyway, that's not to get political.
I'm pro blue collar. I'm pro blue. My grandfather, by the way, played baseball, and he was going to play in the minor league stuff. Mm-hmm. And he had a family, and there's no, back then,
right?
Zero, it was travel, and that was it. It was basically what they paid for. So it's crazy when you think about those people that were traveling around back then playing the sport, and they weren't getting paid anything, and the players, the really owners were making money.
Yeah, they're just doing it because they really do love to play.
Yeah,
which is pretty crazy compared to now. Do you think what do you think in the movie hasn't aged well? Other than the romance.
Other than the romance.
Which you said it was interesting that they put that in the movie when they were probably like, this is a baseball movie, so it's totally for dudes. Let's throw a romance in there for chicks. And then they throw in the most like tone deaf romance.
It was tone deaf, but I don't think any females were complaining at the time.
No.
Like, I think it was, it worked back then. I think that's kind of funny. I think there are a lot of movies back then where it's primarily a comedy. It's primarily stuff for a very immature male audience.
Right.
And then they got to throw a bone out to try and get the female audience going. And so they throw in a romance. Like, the hero has to have a romantic something or someone to rescue or whatever. And like, for the nerdy kids going to, the guys going to see it, they're going to watch silly baseball humor or whatever. But I think some of the voodoo character, like, that's probably not the most accurate.
Pedro.
Yeah.
So
that's probably not the most appropriate representation.
I was gonna bring that up too, because once again, calling back Bull Durham, which I think came out in 88 or 87. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna look it up right now. It's like one of my favorites, and I don't remember when it came out.
It never gets to the level of having, like, long,
88. So
Long Duck Dong or anything like that in it.
So it came out a year before, but both of them have this character that's from Cuba or Dominican Republic or something, and the idea of like voodoo, that they use voodoo to like take the curse off their bats and improve their game. And it's in these two very popular baseball movies. And Bull Durham in particular is written by someone who used to do sports writing. So I'm wondering, is it based in some sort of reality? Is it something, because there are a lot of players that come and play in the major leagues that are from Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and so is this idea like based on something that like some players have experienced?
It could be, because
if it was just major league, I'd be like, well, it's probably racist, or something. But
probably racist. Asterisk, probably racist. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of the time.
They are the Cleveland Indians, after all.
I think the 80s was the time, though, when Major League Baseball was doing a lot more farm and recruiting from other countries. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I remember Fernando Valenzuela. He he was crazy good, but he made quite a stink because back then people were really offended that he was from another country and that he did not speak English and needed
Right.
a translator, and people were not used to that idea and were a little bit stupid.
I did see that a couple years ago, the Cleveland Indians actually made like an altar to Jabu in their dugout or what in their locker room.
Nice.
Which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I love, by the way, when Willie Mays Hayes drives up and he's in the modified old Beetle that's
Right.
got the cheap front of a fake Rolls Royce
Yeah.
mod on it. It's such a ridiculous
Right.
looking car. But I
I
think
wouldn't-
that's it. I mean, the showgirl, like every time they win a game, they peel off a piece of her clothing. Like
Right.
that wouldn't fly today or any of that stuff. But like a lot of the jokes are good. And the baseball stuff's just fun to
Right.
watch. And everybody
Yeah.
loves the manager. Everybody thinks he's great.
Yeah,
right?
that's like legit my dad's favorite. Like he loves that character so much.
So I enjoyed those
Yeah.
parts of
I
it.
rewatching it, I was struck by how much I didn't laugh. Like I didn't think it was as funny as I remembered it, but I wasn't bored. I didn't hate it. I wasn't
Yeah.
like I watched this and I was like, "Oh, this is really bad and it's aged terrible." It was just like, "Oh yeah, that's Major League and this happened and oh, that love story is not so hot." But like, I mean, it's a perfectly enjoyable, very watchable baseball movie.
Here's my summed up thought.
Here's your game summary.
Here's my game summary. The movie cost $3.99 to rent.
Yes.
It cost $4.99 to buy. We rented it.
Yes.
I still feel good about that decision. I still feel good I saved $1.
Yeah, good call.
So it's a rental.
Yeah. It's a good rental.
Yeah.
All right, shall we talk about Field of Dreams?
Field of Dreams.
So for people who haven't seen this one or need a refresher, it stars Kevin Costner, Amy Madigan, Ray Liotta, Burt Lancaster, and James Earl Jones. And Costner is a farmer in Iowa who hears a voice in his cornfield that tells him to build a baseball diamond, and shoeless Joe Jackson will come and play. So he does. The end.
Yeah, that's it. All right.
Actually, it's a really great story about our national pastime
All right.
and our daddy issues.
So I have another baseball question. For
Okay.
you. What is it about baseball you think that has such a high nostalgia factor versus other sports? Because I think even though, I mean, it's older than football, but I still feel like for whatever reason, there's a lot more nostalgia-based baseball stories and movies and documentaries and everything that, even though it's a sport just like any other sport, but for whatever reason, it's like it's really tied. Like it's the great American pastime.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it's really dialed in as like the ultimate nostalgia
So some of it
sport.
That's a really good question. I wish I had known that question in advance. I would have gave it more thought. Some of it has to be like the national pastime thing, right?
Yeah.
I also assume that it has to do with, I feel like I'm not really super into football or basketball, so I can't really speak to that with any kind of authority, but I wondered, I feel like baseball reflects history, or history has an influence on baseball. Like, it's a big deal when, like, Jackie Robinson comes to play, or, you know, that sort of thing, that it means something.
Mm-hmm.
I also think baseball's more accessible to people.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's,
We have a 6-year-old calling to us. And
yeah, well, I'm sorry. It's very distracting. Like,
Hear this.
hey, Daddy, what does our 6-year-old think about
Yeah.
football and baseball?
Yeah, that's a good question. We should ask him. Hey, Calvin, come here. Come here, Calvin.
Calvin, you want to be famous?
Do you want to be on?
Calvin.
Hey, Calvin.
I'm awake.
You
You're
are
awake.
awake. I noticed.
Hey, do you like baseball?
Yes,
You do.
I'm awake.
You are awake.
Yeah, what do you like about baseball?
I'm here.
You like that you're here?
Hi, I'm here.
Yeah, you are here. Hey, you know what?
Go back to bed.
Hey.
Climb back into bed. Mommy and Daddy are busy.
Parenting. Great parents or greatest parents? I can't decide.
Okay, parents.
Yeah.
Um,
So I think I think I was saying it's more accessible. The idea that like anybody can play, not anybody, but we've all played baseball or softball and you could play it in your backyard. And I just feel like football isn't like that. Maybe because it's so physical or so violent, or I don't know.
I don't know. I think
I wish I had a better answer.
it is,
You should have sent me the questions in advance.
but then you wouldn't have been able to. You would have had time to prepare. I don't really know I don't know the answer myself. I wonder if it's tied to, like, I know it's kind of based on Rounders, a British game, but we kind of assume
Right.
ownership of it. Like, we started it and it fostered and grew.
Well, it's
And
funny.
it was very rural. Like, it started, it represented, like, rural America. It represented, like, different ethnic groups in the inner cities at a really tough time.
Yeah.
And so it's, like, kind of represents a really wide range of American experiences.
Well, and I think-
So a lot of people just grew up with it in a way that's just different than other sports.
And that's one of the things that Field of Dreams talks about. And I actually put in my notes here kind of like the speech that James Earl Jones gives in the movie, where he talks about like how people will come. They will come to the field that he's built, and because of the nostalgia factor. The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball. America's rolled by like an army of steamrollers. It has been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again, but baseball has marked the time.
I can't believe you memorized that.
No, I said right before it that I wrote this down. This field, this game, it's a part of our past, Ray.
That's
It
right.
reminds us of all that once was good and could be again.
So good. And, it's funny. Like, this isn't the first and only baseball movie to have that nostalgia be such a core component of it. I mean, The Natural's that way.
Right.
Bull Durham's got it.
Yeah.
It's funny.
The Sandlot.
Sandlot.
Not
Major
the,
League.
Not the
Major
bad
League
news.
2.
Not the Bad News Bears so much.
Not basketball.
Oh, we should do a show on basketball.
I would say Bad News Bears is one of the better baseball movies
For
ever
sure.
made.
I actually before we get into Field of Dreams, I actually
Okay.
made a list of other baseball movies.
Oh, okay. So we can
there's-
talk about those.
Well, so we have Bull Durham,
Yep.
The Natural,
Yep.
The Sandlot, A League of Their Own, The Bad News Bears, and 8 Men Out. And I tend to piss off everyone on Twitter the start of every baseball season, where I claim that The Naked Gun is my favorite baseball movie.
It has some of the best baseball stuff
Because the
in it
baseball
at the
stuff
end.
in it is so funny.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And I think it's funny, too, because you don't think about it now because the teams are gotten much better back then.
Yeah.
But in that movie, in the World Series, the fact that it was the Mariners and the Angels
Right.
was in itself a joke. Because both
'Cause they
teams were
were, like,
American League, so
yeah.
they couldn't technically play. And also, they were both terrible.
And,
Like,
yeah.
they were, that was
Weren't
almost...
they like expansion teams too, or something like that?
Mariners are an expansion team. Angels kind of are, kind of aren't. I mean, they were part of the. I'm going to geek out here. They were part of the Pacific Coast League when they were
Which, by the way, if
they
you
were the
guys
Los
haven't
Angeles
seen
Angels.
the documentary "The Battered Bastards of Baseball,"
Yeah, that's a good one.
it's on Netflix, and it's really, really good about the Pacific Coast League. And what was the team again?
The Matadors? No, what were they?
I don't remember.
I'll look them up.
I'll have to look it up.
Also, the Ken Burns documentary is, of course, amazing. If you don't mind, it's a crazy 10-episode thing.
Actually, it's 11. Remember, they added an extra.
Yeah,
the
that's
Portland
right.
Mavericks.
Mavericks. Okay.
There you go. When I was making my list of baseball movies, I also made a list of other movies that came out in 1989.
Oh.
So
this
we
was the
should talk
time
about Bull
for-
Durham.
Yeah, let's talk about Bull Durham.
We should talk about Field of Dreams.
And first, we should talk about Field of Dreams.
Yeah, but other movies that came out in 89 real fast. Good year. Batman, Dead Poets Society, Little Mermaid, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Say Anything, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Sex, Lies, and Videotape, Roger and Me, The Fabulous Baker Boys, Crimes and Misdemeanors, When Harry Met Sally, and Do the Right Thing. But I think we can all agree that the best movie to come out that year was Driving Miss Daisy.
And that won the Best Picture.
Yes, it did. It's so awful. What did you think about Field of Dreams?
I thought it's funny because
I knew you were gonna love this. Like, I felt like confident that you would like this one.
I was worried watching it because it had been built up. There's a father component to it that hits me, but at the same time, you know the plot going in, you know how it ends going in. It's become a part of pop culture. I've seen so many scenes from it sort of out of context, or like in The Simpsons, or so you kind of wonder, like, going in with all this knowledge and being predisposed to, like, I don't know. So I was impressed with the fact that I could still watch this movie knowing so much about it, getting into it, and still be moved by it. Which, it reminds me almost of like a classic, it's like a very classic It's a Wonderful Life style Hollywood film.
100% like a Frank Capra movie.
And it does it in a way, just like the Frank Capra movies, where so easily it could be way too syrupy, especially in this day and age, and just come across as being just maudlin. But somehow they're able to do it, and it has enough quirk to it, or intelligence to it, or good writing, and great performances that you're still having a suspension of disbelief. Like, you're still into it, you still follow it, you still feel with it, and I think that's really hard.
Yeah,
that's a pretty impressive thing to do, because these movies that have been able to accomplish that are so few and far between.
One of the things I love about the movie is it's based on this really outrageous idea. The idea that, like, a voice from beyond basically tells them to build this baseball field, and ghosts come and play, and
a guy's hearing voices.
Yeah, but that really is the only part that's out there. Like, I feel like the performances are really grounded and realistic, and that people behave the way they would totally behave in that situation, like normal human beings. I guess it's not wacky, or people aren't stupid because the script makes them be stupid, or you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it would be so easy with a story like this. I mean, neither of us have read the book that it's based on, but it'd be so easy for the movie to devolve into too long into like he's crazy and we don't believe him and everything like that.
Yeah,
like, it really kind of has a great pace.
The movie could have spent a half hour on, and his wife totally doesn't believe him. Yeah. And that would have been annoying, really annoying to watch. But instead, like, because, she's married to him and she loves him and she knows him, she listens to what he has to say, treats it seriously, asks questions, makes up her own mind, and goes along with it. Because when we rewatch this, I super love Amy Madigan in this movie. Like, I think this could have been like a totally predictable role. This could have been like the nagging shrew of a wife or something, and she's not that at all. Her character is super smart and funny and supportive. I just super love her, and I love the scene where she goes to the school meeting and like just goes off about the idea of burning books. And
I thought the daughter was good too.
yeah,
Like, I thought
Gabby Hoffman.
I thought that part was well written. It reminded me a little bit. I don't know. That's another thing I think I'm always impressed with when they have dialogue for kids and the kids sound like kids.
Yeah. Smith and I have talked about this a lot on the show. When they cast kids and just make them sound like little adults.
Yeah. That's what I like about Searching for Bobby Fischer.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that is good writing for the kid.
Yeah. And everyone in the movie's really good. Like, Kevin Costner's coming off of Bull Durham, I think, before this movie.
Yeah, his
also,
heyday is, he's right in the midst of his peak here.
And he had just done a baseball movie. He could have very easily been like, I'm not doing this. And he's really good. I like Kevin Costner, but I said at work, like, I have a soft spot for Kevin Costner. My coworkers you also like pumpkin spice, which I do. I am apparently I am the target audience for pumpkin spice and Kevin Costner.
I think criticism of him that I've heard is that they feel that he's kind of a boring, bland, straight man. That he plays his parts pretty deadpan. But I think he's fine. And I think what's funny is, like, people say that, but then look at a lot of the leading actors today. When you see a movie like Pacific Rim, and you'd have no memory of who was leading in that movie at all. Like, there's a lot of...
We saw that.
There's serious bland.
After there's like a beginning intro or whatever, and then the movie starts like a couple months later or something, and I was like, who's that? And you're like, that's the guy we just saw like 1 minute ago, Sonia. Like, I had already forgot.
Yeah. Like, and Costner was good in JFK. He was good in Untouchables. He's got like one of the best lines. Like, he was in the car, or I think I'll go have a drink, or something like he's good.
Yeah,
he's fine.
I like Kevin Costner. I really do. Ray Liotta's in this. I think before playing Shoeless Joe Jackson, and I think before this, he was doing things like Something Wild. Like, I think he was more known as like a bad boy. So this was kind of an interesting choice for him. And of course there's James Earl Jones,
he was good, and
he's always good.
Yeah, so I really liked it. I was of course moved. I could not avoid the stuff.
I knew the daddy stuff would hit you.
Yeah, it's good though.
But I think it hits everyone. It's, we all have our issues with our parents, and
who wouldn't like an opportunity to have another visit with someone that they feel like they had unfinished business with, or that they lost, and for whatever reason it felt unresolved.
Yeah.
Like, who would not welcome that chance, that second chance? That's something that I think inevitably everybody experiences a need for in their lives. So, and I think this movie captures that really, really, really nicely.
And I feel like the characters feel like real people, and they feel really fleshed out, like they have lives beyond what we're seeing. So, like, I love the Burt Lancaster character.
Oh, he's awesome.
As Archie Graham, who had his shot in the big leagues back in the day, but didn't swing, or he didn't even get a chance to bat. That's what it was. And then he instead went home, became a doctor, and he was like this really awesome dude, by all accounts, who did all these amazing things in his town.
Got like donations for glasses for people that couldn't afford them.
Yeah.
Did all that stuff. And he's based on a real person.
Yeah. I read that too.
Yeah.
That they said that a lot of the things that, because there's a scene where James Earl Jones kind of goes around the town, the small town, and asks about what Archie was like because he had passed away. And all these people are sharing all these stories, and apparently those are real stories about the character that, or the man that he's based on.
Yeah, he was kind of made famous in the book.
Yeah.
And I guess I forget it was. He played like the bottom of one inning, and
Right.
that was the end of his career through no fault of his own.
But Burt Lancaster's got so much heart, and he brings so much emotion to just a really small part.
Yeah.
And
shows how good he was.
It really, like, I've seen the movie many times. This movie played at my theater. I was 18 when it came out. It played the same time as, I remember this very clearly. We had 5 screens. 2 of them were showing Batman. 2 of them were showing Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And 1 of them was showing Field of Dreams. And every auditorium was sold out for like the whole summer. And Field of Dreams was
hits.
and Field of Dreams was one of those movies, so I saw it a lot. And it was nice to revisit and see like that it could still like just touch my heart. And the stuff with Burt Lancaster in particular, where the younger version played by Frank Wiley, I think that's how you pronounce his name, is playing, and he basically gives up his heaven to save Kevin Costner's daughter from choking to death. It's really, really touching.
Well,
also, that's like my worst nightmare. We did an episode of the Dorking Out show where we talked about horror movies that aren't horror movies, and I brought up Field of Dreams in the scene where Kevin Costner's daughter is eating a hot dog and falls and starts choking. I literally think about that every time our son eats a hot dog. It is like my nightmare.
The also, I mean, with back to Burt Lancaster, how amazing is it, and also sad that he's in a movie that is in many ways is about death. It's his last film, and he ends his last film walking into the cornfield.
I know.
And that would be his last appearance on film. Like, that's pretty crazy. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I would have paid the $4.99 to keep it over the $3.99. It does make me want to read up on some of these other players and learn more about the.
Yeah.
I mean, I had read some stories about the Black Sox growing up and stuff like that.
We could see 8 Men Out.
True.
Which
True.
actually I don't think I've seen since it played in the theater.
There's no shortage of baseball.
No, there's a ton of baseball
Thanks.
movies. There's plus baseball season's actually happening.
Yeah. True.
What do you think was like your favorite baseball thing in Field of Dreams?
Favorite baseball
Like your
thing.
favorite baseball moment or something that you're like, oh, baseball.
Oh, baseball. I think when the guy gets his second chance and appears and gets to have an at-bat and gets a little coaching from Shoeless Joe and is able to get a hit, I think that's pretty good. That's
And
like
when he winks
the
and
natural
he throws
moment.
it and he throws at his head.
Yeah. That's another thing. Like there's such funny kind of humor for whatever reason in these films too that works. Baseball humor. So I think that was good.
Yeah. It's really, really, I mean, it's just an awesome movie. I think Field of Dreams falls into where this is awful. This is like an awful stereotype thing where people talk about chick flicks, movies that ladies watch to make themselves cry or something. And then they talk about like guy movies, guy flicks. And I think Field of Dreams and Shawshank Redemption fall into those.
The guy chick flick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like lumping things together like that, but I'm trying to think of a better way to put it. Like a movie that hits men in the heart the way that other movies, that chick flicks hit ladies in the heart, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It was
Also, this beer has a 9% alcohol content,
There you
so
go.
forgive me.
This was a big when this movie came right after this movie came out was when I started at Universal, and we were big on promoting it like crazy. We were pretty darn proud
For
of
people
this
who
one.
don't know, David used to work as a
tour guide.
tour guide at Universal Studios,
That's right.
so he's super knowledgeable about
Please remain
stuff.
seated while the tram is in motion. If you have any small children with you today, please keep them between you and the tram gates or something like that. I forget.
I would love to. I would love to go on the tour and listen to your version as opposed to what's really happening.
Okay. I'll do my own play-by-play.
Yes. So, do you have anything else about Field of Dreams you want to say?
I do not,
Okay.
other than I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
It's a good film.
Should we toss around some other things about baseball movies?
Well, it's funny. I was thinking about
What's your favorite baseball movie? I say that mine's Naked Gun, but it's really Bull Durham.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to revisit some. Like, it's actually been a long time since I've seen A League of Their Own. I saw that last time I saw that was in the theater, and I really enjoyed it. I love the Walter Matthau Bad News Bears.
Yeah.
I love
Same.
the baseball stuff in Bull Durham. I love The Natural, except for the weird, twisted femme fatale romance.
Everyone
thing.
loves The Natural more than me. I actually watched it for the first time
I like the baseball
in
stuff more.
2015, and I was like, this was fine. And I don't know if the music is very iconic. I don't know if it's because it had been kind of parodied and
Yeah.
so ingrained in pop culture that by the time I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. I don't know.
So it didn't.
been a while.
It's been a while. It didn't click for me,
Yeah.
but I know that people love it, and I can see why they love it. It's just didn't work for me.
I love the Ken Burns documentary. That
Yeah,
would be my
we
favorite.
watched all of that.
We watched documentary on the screwball pitch.
That
pitchers.
one was the knuckleball.
The knuckleball. That was
Yeah.
amazing. We watched a documentary about the fastball. Battered Bastards of Baseball.
Well, that was good.
We like baseball documentaries.
We sure do.
Yeah. So we're the perfect people to have hosting this. Those are all good.
Yeah, these are all good ones. Are there any other baseball movies I'm missing?
It's funny. I was expecting
There's
not to
there's
like
some you were expecting not to like.
the redo of Bad News Bears. I thought it was fine. I still don't think it's as good as the Walter Matthau because Walter Matthau
Right.
can't really
Because it's
be-
got Walter Matthau. Oh, Moneyball.
Moneyball's good. It's a good movie.
That's a good one.
It's A's. It's A's.
Yeah, that's true. The Pride of the Yankees.
Oh
I didn't
boy.
see that one. Did you
If
see
I
that
did, I was a kid.
one? Angels in the Outfield.
Got an angel with you right now. We should at least we should like Joe DiMaggio because he's a local. He's a Yankee. But other than that, we don't like Yankees here.
No,
we don't
we
like
don't.
get what is it? Chattanooga? Was it the Warner Brothers cartoon with Yosemite Sam?
Which I don't remember.
They tell him that the Yankees are in Chattanooga. And it shows him like in front of a dugout with his gun pointed at the dugout.
1, 2, 3, strikes you out.
And he
1, 2,
says-
3, strikes you out.
Yeah, there you go. The Bugs Bunny baseball cartoon. That's my favorite one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Then also there's things here called For the Love of the Game, which is another Kevin Costner baseball movie I've never seen.
He loves that baseball.
He sure does. The Rookie of the Year, 42, Fever Pitch. We were talking about that one the other day. Mr. Baseball with Tom Selleck. I bet my mom likes that one. My mom is so hot for Mr. Baseball from
Yeah.
Tom Selleck. And of course, there's all the Major League sequels that
Yeah. I don't need to.
I don't think we're going to be seeing.
No. Yeah, I forgot. Moneyball.
Oh, there's
that was good. We saw Moneyball in
there's
the
the
theater.
Ty Cobb movie.
Oh God.
God, he's such a dick. That was one of the things that made me laugh really hard, actually, when we rewatched Field of Dreams, because now after rewatching this after we've watched all these documentaries, you discover what a dick Ty Cobb was.
Yeah.
And so there's that great scene in Field of Dreams where he's like, Ty Cobb wanted to come play with us, but we told him to stick it.
Yeah.
And he laughs in that like sinister Ray Liotta way.
We
that,
never
makes me laugh really hard.
We never saw 42.
We
the
did
Jackie
not.
Robinson one.
We did not, and we never watched. I've never seen The Babe either with John Goodman. That's not true. I did see The Babe with John Goodman. No, we could totally watch that. Here's one called The Stratton Story with James Stewart.
And I didn't know that Angels in the Outfield is a remake of an older movie.
There it is. We should watch the older one.
Damn Yankees, I saw that.
Did you see The Fan with
No.
Wesley Snipes and Robert De Niro?
Nah, I missed that one.
Oh, that's probably okay. How about Brewster's Millions? Did you see that?
I did see Brewster's Millions. I don't remember it much.
That's about it for that list. Is there anything else you'd like to say about
Baseball?
or baseball movies?
No.
I don't either. Neither of our team are really on the track to win anything this year.
This is not. I don't think this is their year.
It's so sad.
This is one of the things I like about baseball, though, is I like that it's a sport that you just have to condition yourself that odds are half the time you go to the ballpark, you're going to watch a losing game. Like, odds are, you know, if you're a batter and if you can hit the ball 1 out of 3 times, you're amazingly
right.
good. Like, it's one of those
I
games
will
where you have to
say-
acclimate yourself to long hauls of not winning.
I will say with I'd say you can't count out the Giants until the very last game. They are kind of really good at coming back at the last minute and winning. So it could still happen, fingers crossed.
I just like going to a game.
Me too, actually. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, it's just fun going to a game.
It is super fun going to a game. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we call it a night?
Nope.
I'm just going to say, go Giants!
Oh. Okay. I'd say go A's.
Also, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. It's nice to have a co-host who listens to me.
Sorry, what?